A 26-year-old truck driver has been sentenced to 110 years in prison because of a vehicle accident that was caused by improper maintenance on the vehicle. And truck drivers around the country are speaking out about this because this is absolutely an outrage.
Hi, truck driver here again. This man has been sentenced to 110 years in prison after he lost the brakes on his truck and couldn't get it back in gear, resulting in the deaths of 4 people. I'm here to tell you why that alone has me committed to leaving the trucking industry for good. As the holder of a commercial driver's license, you are held to a completely different standard than everyone else on the road, whether you're in a commercial vehicle or your personal vehicle. And as a truck driver, you are expected to have complete mechanical knowledge of a vehicle that you don't own and you don't work on. And at 25 years old, a man was sentenced to life in prison because of a mechanical failure that even the court system doesn't understand. While it's easy enough to understand that he had a brake failure, what the court system did not acknowledge is that he said that the transmission was knocked out of gear, which happens frequently with vehicles that are not maintained properly that are under heavy loads.
This case is perfectly emblematic of the criminal justice system in the United States of America. Because I don't know if you know this, but a lot of truck drivers out there don't own the trucks that they're driving. In fact, the trucks are owned by the company most often. And in those situations, the company is responsible for doing all the maintenance. The driver is expected to show up, get in the vehicle, and drive around, and they have to hope that the company is properly maintaining the vehicle. But we all know how capitalism works. They're always going to do the bare minimum amount of maintenance, and sometimes not even that. And it's not a matter of laziness or anything like that on the part of the workers. It is a specific plan by these companies. In order to save money, they will cut corners, and that cutting corners costs lives. This is just how capitalism works.
And that driver that was sentenced to 110 years, I've experienced some of the mechanical failures that he did that day. And you know what? I'm not willing to go to prison or sacrifice my life for people's convenience.
And in this instance, this truck was clearly not maintained. There was an issue with the brakes and an issue with the transmission that combined to cause the deaths of 4 people. And this specific truck driver is getting blamed for this incident when ultimately any reasonable person would have no way of knowing that all of those issues existed within that truck. Now, one of the facts that they used to convict this person was that he missed one potential runaway spot for truck. But the truth of the matter is, if you're talking about a high stress environment like that, occasionally you're going to have people make mistakes and you're going to have somebody miss something like that. And the biggest problem here is that the worker is taking all of the blame. That is the central issue, that they are choosing to focus on punishing this truck driver for something that was a systemic failure, that was clearly the result of our capitalist system prioritizing cutting corners. Except for these truck drivers are not having it, and they're refusing to go to Colorado because they are infuriated that the state would put this person in prison for 110 years for something that ultimately was outside of their control. And instead of choosing to focus on the systems within the company that led to that problem happening, no, they chose to criminally prosecute one 26-year-old. He had his whole life in front of him, just 26 years old, and they took it away, all because we live in a system that was built by and for rich white slave owners that exist to protect the profits of the wealthiest people while punishing the poorest people. And we need to understand how difficult it is for truck drivers. A lot of truck drivers had to experience the whole contract worker thing far before Uber and Lyft came around. There's tons of truck rental schemes and independent contractor schemes that a lot of trucking companies around the country have been using for years to keep truck drivers at a razor-thin margin, barely surviving, spending days and weeks away from their families just to deliver goods from one place to another. And this is the thanks they get. But what these truckers are doing is exactly correct. Because the most powerful thing that working class people have in terms of challenging our oppressive system of capitalism is withholding their labor. By refusing to go to Colorado, by refusing to deliver those goods, these workers are standing up and putting real strain on the capitalist system and forcing people to come to serious decisions about how we need to restructure our society. Hopefully, their action leads to broader awareness and serious change in the law and in the actual implementation of the law. We want truck drivers to be safe, which means what we want is every company to have strict requirements about the maintenance of their vehicles. If that means costing those companies a little bit of extra money or a little bit of extra time, then so be it, because we want to protect the lives not only of the truck drivers, but the people who are on the road with these trucks. And the more we demand overnight deliveries and immediate deliveries for everything, the more we risk the potentiality that maintenance gets overlooked. And that is the price we pay living under capitalism, where people's lives are literally put as a secondary figure compared to profits. This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with my content.